Absolute pleasure to be here today to talk a little bit about NDC, provide you with an update. Just a bit of a background about me. I actually come from an airline environment, 10 years in corporate sales. Prior to that, certainly sat in the TMC environment, both in global account management but also operational management. So I joined Travelport probably 10 months ago now to sit in the NDC team, largely on our travel partners side of the business, which means that I'm talking to airlines pretty much on a daily basis. But NDC is far-reaching. It reaches across our agency side of the business. So we're talking very much to all of our TMCs, all of our agency partners in collaboration on NDC. And of course, product, technology, billing, legal, marketing, external comms, internal comms. NDC is really touching all sides of the business. So we've taught new distribution capability, NDC, for a number of years. It feels like many years now. And it's not about if anymore. It's about what is going to happen and when is it going to happen. So we've seen a lot of innovation. We see innovation and change accelerating. Right now, there's over 50 airlines who are certified to IATA NDC Level 3. There's over 50 IT companies and aggregators like Travelport who are certified NDC capable to IATA NDC Level 3. Now, Level 3 is the highest certification right now that IATA NDC actually awards. But just a couple of weeks ago, IATA announced that in early 2019, they will now be bringing out a Level 4, which is much more all about the servicing element of the NDC schemas. And also they're going to be bringing out the highest certification, which is NDC at scale. So a lot more is happening in terms of the certifications. 17.2 schema, that's been announced as the baseline schema. There's 2 schemas that are released by IATA every single year. And basically there's enhanced functionality capabilities within those schemas based on industry feedback. And Travelport works very closely with IATA. We sit on many of the working groups, we sit on the steering committees with IATA looking at those functionalities and ways in which to drive NDC forward from a technology perspective. So 17.2 is the baseline schema. Basically, it's firmed up. It's much in previous schemas. And what is very positive is that IATA is now seeking to work in collaboration, more collaboratively, with certainly the TMC and the agency community. They have set up this working group, the Global Travel Executive Council, and I understand that the next meeting is mid-October. There's a number of global multinational TMCs and agencies that will be attending that meeting. And they're reaching out also to the corporate environment. They're actually seeking more input, more feedback from the global corporate travel managers, from local travel managers. I think, when I talked to a global travel manager recently from a global investment bank, a few years back, it was very much nervousness about airlines getting hold of that data. Now what that global travel manager was really saying was, could NDC actually bring value to my travel program? So instead of actually negotiating a deal with an airline based on a specific O&D in a specific cabin with a specific discount, can actually I start talking to my preferred airlines about corporate bundles? Yes, the discount, but adding in maybe fast track for my economy passengers, maybe it's lounge access for economy passengers. What more can I do for my board of directors? And if NDC can actually start to add value, that will actually help me to start to drive compliance within my program. So a little bit of a change there from what we're hearing from that corporate buyer environment. And the IATA leaderboard of airlines. I don't know if you know much about the leaderboard of airlines. IATA announced it earlier this year with 20 airlines. It's now at 21. Qantas recently joined the leaderboard, and those airlines have actually committed to drive 20% of their volumes through an NDC API by 31st of December 2020. So it's a lot of work to do there. If you haven't seen the list, here is a list of airlines. We as Travelport, we're probably talking to around 30 airlines in terms of NDC right now. But all airlines are at different stages in terms of their own NDC journey, their own NDC strategies. For those 30 airlines, that actually covers around 50% of our volumes. So airlines right now, they're very much on the left-hand side of this graph. About 99% of transactions actually goes through ATPCO. And what airlines want to do is actually move over, or the majority of airlines that we're talking to want to move over to the right-hand side of that screen. But it's going to take many years. It's a complex journey. It's not just a complex journey across technology, but it's also a complex journey across commercial. You know, when I'm having conversations with airlines, it might be a niche player who wants to understand more about NDC and what does that mean to them as an airline, but they're actually sitting as a dominant carrier. They've got strong market share, they've got a high yield. They're not going to invest in NDC because investing in NDC is a multi-million-dollar investment by the airlines. Other airlines have said, actually, and I'm thinking about a European network carrier, they have said, we want to know about it. This is really, something that we want to be a part of this journey. But right now, we don't have the investment. We're going through acquisition. That might give you a little bit of an idea of who that might be. This journey will take many years. But what that IATA leaderboard does give the airlines is a target to achieve by the end of 2020. And once they get off that 20%, then we'll see them moving to 30, 40, 50%. So why do airlines want to distribute content differently to what they are doing today? We believe that there are 5 key reasons. Firstly, it's about control. Airlines want to control the offer. They want to control it in their system. They want to actually be able to identify who is actually making a request, and then they will actually push out that offer. They want to be able to construct the fares, to construct the fare conditions around that fare or around that offer as we now talk. Improved sales capability, and I'm thinking probably with my old airline head on here, this is what will really excite airlines. This is how they will actually be able to start driving incremental revenue and certainly looking at returns on investment on those multi-million-dollar investments they're putting towards NDC. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then we're talking about reduced reliance on PSSs. So PSSs are the passenger service systems. A little bit clunky. It's the airline's reservation system, inventory system, and their departure control system. So airlines are investing in merchandising engines, merchandising platforms that actually sit on top of the PSS. And that is where they will be able to create these offers, be able to create the dynamic pricing, and really deliver speed to market. Commercial model flexibility, I think in parts of the world we're starting to see different commercial models coming through. And again, I will touch on this. And innovation, through 2019, 2020, we're going to see more and more innovation from the airlines in terms of how they want to sell, how they want to market, and how they want to distribute their content. So sales capabilities. I think we're starting to see some movement in certain parts of the world in terms of differentiated content through the NDC API channel. So all airlines are talking to us about rich content. They're talking about branded fares or corporate bundles. But I think what we will see is a lot of testing in 2019. They all want to test their capabilities. What we're seeing in the world today is probably not what we're going to see in maybe a year's time or 2 years' time. So we're really at the early stages, a lot of testing. So British Airways, they launched their SHAT fares, short-haul additional price points. It's about 40 additional price points that were actually distributed through the NDC API, but they're actually using ATPCO technology. Airlines want to work in a more granular way. They are limited and running out of 26 booking classes. So based on the letters of the alphabet, they've talked about having double letters, so 676 booking classes. But then actually now they're talking about price points, and price points can be infinite. You could actually have a different, I'm not saying that airlines are going to do this by any means, but you could actually have a price point for every single different passenger that is boarding one aircraft. So a lot of discussion about price points, differentiation and personalization. So there's a lot of talk around personalization. Will airlines actually be able to personalize to individual level? We don't think so right now. What we're actually hearing is airlines want to personalize to customer groups. So whether that is a corporate customer group, whether it's a group of travel agencies, that's what they're talking about right now in terms of personalization. So how are they going to do this? How are airlines going to actually drive NDC API bookings? Okay, we've got a carrot and a stick here. So what we're seeing right now is probably within Europe in particular, it's the stick approach. So if we think British Airways or Lufthansa Group or Air France KLM and the surcharging, very much the stick approach is to move to NDC API. British Airways also using technology, so thinking about the SHAT fares, they're using the API to distribute that content. In the Americas, you've got more of a carrot approach, so American Airlines, they're actually paying an incentive, a $2 incentive for every booking that is made through the NDC API channel. And then with Asia, I think Asia, it's looking like, and certainly rumoured, that they will probably take more of a carrot approach rather than the stick approach. But if the carrot approach doesn't work, given the multi-million-dollar investment, it could move to the stick approach. So really, different drivers, but it's early stage experimentation. Economics, British Airways, Air France, KLM, economics and technology, that would be British Airways, using the surcharge, using the SHAT fares, which needs the NDC API distribution technology and reverse economics. That's more about American Airlines and their incentive offer. But as it says on the slide, excuse me, the new model, it's yet to be proven. It's very, very early days in terms of commercial model innovation and experimentation. So the journey to 2020, I've mentioned about the IATA leaderboard airline. That's really what is now driving that target group of airlines in particular. Yannick Hoyles, who is leading the NDC project as the IATA NDC program director, he's been talking a lot about 2018 is a year of plumbing. At Travelport, we talk about 2018. Going into 2019, it's about the plumbing. We need to get the technology there, and we need to get the technology ready to enable the airlines to actually distribute their content via an NDC API. So lots of change, lots of complexities across all parts of the industry. And we talk certainly within Travelport about collaboration a lot of the time, and that's collaborating, not only with airlines, but with you, our agency partners, and obviously also, we would say, talk to us also as an aggregator of content. So just looking at airlines need to build out that API, and they need to build out that merchandising capability. That's where they'll be really able to start to look at that creative selling and really deliver speed to market. Re-engineering human processes. So if we think right now in revenue management within an airline, those revenue managers, they're hugely effective, they're very efficient, but they're used to working with 26 booking classes and with maybe 3 fare brands or 4 fare brands. Tomorrow, that's a completely different story. They're going to be working with maybe 676 booking classes, all with infinite price points. So a lot of changes within the airlines. And of course, they've got to drive that return on investment on that multi-million-dollar budget. And aggregators like Travelport, so we've got to build those API connections out to all of those airlines. We need to be working to scale, at scale. We call that content in, so we build the connections out to the airlines to actually be able to pull in that content. And then we've got to develop and enhance our points of sale. So not only in terms of our desktop smart point, but also obviously in the online environment for online travel agents, for TMCs that take an API feed, and for other leisure agents that take that API feed from us. So that's what we need to do. But Paul's already mentioned, about Travelport is here to normalise that process. We need to normalise that process for you. But also from an agency perspective, there will be change. There could be some disruption. But I would suggest largely, if an agent has actually built out a direct connect, they've got to actually integrate those platforms into their own workflows. But I think all parts of the industry, whether sitting in airlines, whether sitting in technology companies as an aggregator like Travelport, whether it is in the agency environment, there is a lot of change that is taking place that we will need to adapt and adjust to.